I firmly believe that the mind-body connection is such a strong connection that when we get these diagnoses like cancer or like a disease of some kind, I firmly believe there is an emotional factor at play there. There's something that needs to be healed, or there's a heavy emotion that you're not releasing, or there's unhealed grief of some kind. And so
yes,
I always, in therapy anyways, will touch on that with clients. It's just so important to know, like, you know, holding on to grudges, I firmly believe can result in a future diagnosis of some kind, you know, holding on to resentment, holding on to grief. Like, we need to heal those things because they can show up in your body as a tumor, as so many things, as ulcers, you know, I mean, so
that is so huge that you bring that up. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that's been a part of your journey too.
Welcome to Next Level You podcast. I'm Stefanie Dingbaum, your host, your biggest cheerleader, and your go-to girlfriend for real, raw, and uplifting conversations about leveling up in life. As a mental health therapist with over a decade of experience and a business coach helping women elevate their lives and businesses, I'm here to guide you through the mindset shifts, holistic practices, and manifestation tools you need to step into your most authentic, next level self. Whether you're here to ignite your personal growth, elevate your professional game, or simply rediscover you, this podcast is your invitation to dream bigger, go after your goals, and unapologetically claim the life you deserve. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. It's time to up-level, manifest, and glow. Welcome back to Next Level You podcast. Holy cow, it feels like it's been forever since I've been behind the mic. So many life updates that I want to share with you guys, but that'll be for another time in another place. Today, I have Sarah on the podcast, and I'm just going to let Sarah do a brief introduction about herself, and then we're just going to dive right into the interview. So Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself to my listeners?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. I know it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
My name is Sarah. I am the host of the Creating Sunshine podcast. I am a single mom to two little girls. They are 11 and 7 and the light of my life. I help build communities. Well, I build my own community.
Yeah.
I also am a speaker. And most recently, since the beginning of the year, I have also been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. So that is the newest thing in my life, and really just navigating what that looks like as far as going through treatment, taking care of my daughters while still trying to build a business.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I have so many questions for you as I'm going through my own life transitions. But first and foremost, I'm curious. So how long has the podcast been going on for you?
I started the podcast in December of 2023. So almost a year and a half. Yeah. I think I have about 60 episodes right now. I've released an episode almost every single Wednesday. I only took a 3-week pause right after my diagnosis because I was just like, I don't know what I want to talk about right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So what like inspired the podcast? What got you started on podcasting?
Well, really for me, I started listening to podcasts in early 2020. Mm-hmm. My husband and I separated in 2019. So here I am, newly single mom, 2 very young girls. And I was just kind of feeling like I was just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And, I was happy on the outside, but miserable on the inside. I was stressed out, burnt out, overwhelmed, like you name it. That was me. Right. And so I came across a podcast on Instagram, probably something like that. And I was like, okay, I've heard of podcasts, but I had never actually listened to one. So I started listening and I was like instantly hooked and obsessed. And I thought, oh my God, this is what I need to consume. This is what I need to get into my ears to actually, make myself believe the things that I'm going to be okay, that, because obviously I wasn't the first person to get divorced. I wasn't the first person to be a single mom, and other people had been through it. I knew I would make it, but I was struggling. And so I really dove into podcasts as a way to help me with my own personal development. Yeah. So then in end of 2023, I started working with a mentor, and, she was asking me a little bit about my story and what I wanted to do. And I just kind of joined, like, I know I want something. I know I'm meant for more. I just don't really know what that looks like or what that is. Yeah. And, I had tried a couple other things. And when we were talking, she said, I think you should start a podcast. And I was like, what? what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, no one, what do I have to say? No one's going to listen to me. You know, I thought it was completely ridiculous in the beginning. And then I think about a month later, she was like, when's your launch date? And I was like, wait, really? Like, you really think I should do this? And so that was, I believe, in October when she told me. And then in December, I launched my podcast.
That's so refreshing to hear somebody like you who's on stages speaking, who has had the same reaction in the beginning as I have had. It's so refreshing to hear other people have that same like initial mindset about like, really, me? Who's going to listen to this? You know?
I think everybody does.
Oh,
it's just we don't think they do.
Right. And I love your journey. It's funny how, you know, sometimes like for me, what got me into podcasts was very similar to your story. I was burnt out in the education arena. COVID hit and I just like you said, I knew there was something more for me on this planet professionally. And it's like you get that itch and then you start listening to podcasts and you start hearing these expanders talk and then you get these ideas and downloads and it's like, okay, I can do this. It's such, the podcasting professional development arena is such a powerful motivator, I feel like. So I love that. Tell me about the whole like creating sunshine. What inspired that for your name?
Well, so the lullaby, You Are My Sunshine, has been like resonant in my family since I was a little girl. And, you know, I had an uncle that used to sing it to me. And then when I had my first daughter, our whole baby shower theme, her whole room, everything was You Are My Sunshine. It's just, I've always just loved it so much. And then in 2020, what I actually started doing was I started making glitter tumblers was my first business. And I was a COVID crafter. And I bought a Cricut printer and I started watching YouTube videos and I thought, hey, I can do that. And so when looking for that name for that business, you know, I wanted something sunshine. I knew because it always, you know, and people would always tell me that I was so positive, that I was a bright light and everything. And so when I came up with the name for that business, it was Create Sunshine Shop. And so when fast forward to the podcast, when I started doing that, you know, I was toying back and forth with all these different ideas. And it just came to me one day and I messaged my mentor and I was like, what if we call it Creating Sunshine? Because really that's what I want to do for my life, but that's also what I want to teach other people to do for their life. And instantly she was like, I love it.
That's
Creating
your name.
Sunshine. Like that's what it is.
Yep. Wow. And it's just stuck. I love that. And now you're going through a journey where you are literally being forced to put that into practice. Like what you preach is now like, here you are. You have to literally live what you preach to people. Yeah. Tell me about going through this new journey in your life, overcoming cancer. How has that challenge, you know, you mentioned like you're an entrepreneur, you're a speaker, you're a podcaster, you're a single parent, and now a health challenge. How are you balancing all of that?
Well, I still currently have a full-time 9-to-5.
Oh my gosh.
So the first thing that I had to do was I had to step away from that. And that was as soon as I was diagnosed, I knew that was the first thing that needed to go because I knew that I needed to be able to be present for my daughters, to be able to spend time with them because they are young. I mean, they're 11 and 7, you know? So, I mean, I know at any age when you tell your kids you have cancer, it has to be scary, right? Yeah. But when your kids are that young, like it's terrifying because to them, it's like, oh my God, is she going to be okay? Like what's going to happen? So that was the first thing that had to go to the wayside was my job. And so I, you know, left. I didn't quit, but I took a leave of absence from that. That was the first thing. And then it came the decision of if I was going to share it or not. Mm-hmm. And, you know, because there have been other things that I've gone through in my life, like my divorce, for example, that I did not share neither publicly nor with very many people in my life. Yeah. I just kind of went through it and, you know, people would find out. And I really made the decision to share my journey because I was already sharing publicly. I already had the podcast. So it did feel a little bit different this time. But also I knew that how healing the podcast has been for me.
Yes.
And how much using my voice has helped me. And I was like, you know what? If I share this and I talk about it, then I feel like it's going to not only hopefully help somebody else listening, but it's also going to help me heal through it. And the other factor is my daughters, because when I told them, I said, you know, I don't want you guys to be embarrassed and I don't want you to feel like you have to hide it. You can tell whoever you want to tell, and I support you in that. And I thought, well, how can I sit here with a platform and I'm already sharing so much publicly, and I'm telling my daughters that they can tell whoever they want to tell. And then I'm over here not sharing it. I felt like that would be so hypocritical, you know? And so I wanted them to see through me that it's okay to talk about it, that it's okay to share about it, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, all the things in between that happen. But, you know, and my business did take a pause because at the beginning of the year, I was literally in launch mode for a membership. And as soon as I was diagnosed, I just didn't feel right. I said, I don't feel like I can pour into a community the way that I want to right now. So I've kind of reevaluated a lot of things, but I've also automated a lot of things that I was doing very manually before. So that has been helpful because I didn't realize how much time I was wasting doing so many things myself versus, you know, letting the systems work for you.
Yeah.
So I've been really intentional about the programs I've joined and the people that I'm working with to get that kind of help. And that has made things a lot easier. And really, you know, I take it day by day. But one of the main things too is I've really taken a huge focus on my nutrition, my mindset, and, you know, my exercise, because you can see people go through treatment, and some people go through treatment and it's so rough. And I was like, what can I do to give myself the best chance and the best opportunity to come out on the other side and really just not have this like drain my energy completely. And, you know, as the weeks have gone on, I've already gone through 4 chemos. You know, I learn a little bit more each time, but the nutrition and the hydration, the sleep, the exercise, the mindset, like focusing on all of those things, I truly believe has helped me. I mean, even to the point that I went to the doctor yesterday and she was doing an exam and she was having a hard time finding the lump. And I was like,
oh, that's amazing.
I know. I was just,
Sarah.
I knew it because I couldn't really feel it, but to hear her say it, she was like, you can't even hardly tell it's there. And when I tell you, Stefanie, when I started treatment, it was like the size of a softball. Like it was huge.
Hey, Sarah, I don't even know you that well. And I'm just like, I could cry. That's so amazing.
Yeah, wow. This is very good to hear.
Gosh, I have so many questions. First of all, I feel like we need to have like a sidebar conversation when the mic is off, because I want to talk to you all about automation, because it's not public knowledge yet, but going into a new season in my personal life. And I am like, I've been thinking about automation. Like, what can I do? And so I feel like we need to have like an off the mic conversation about that. But what I really want to talk about, so obviously you went into this very much like with this holistic mindset. You're not just going through chemo, but you're like, what can I do diet wise for my physical health, for my, like, what can my mindset, how can my mindset improve? Like, you're looking at all these different areas, and I commend you for that, because I just think gone are the days where you just beat cancer with just chemo, right? Yeah. Like, you need to look at the whole body. You need to improve your mindset. There's so much around mindset you can do when you get any kind of a diagnosis in our world. I feel, as a therapist, even though ethically I have to diagnose people to be able to treat and to be able to bill insurance companies, I refuse to share my diagnoses with my clients, because I know what happens once a diagnosis is told to you. You immediately internalize that and it becomes like a part of your identity. And that is it really contradicts the whole healing journey. I mean, you literally could leave my office then identifying as an anxious person. And that really contradicts what I'm trying to do with you in therapy. And so when you say you did a lot of mindset work, I imagine, like, did you pour into affirmations? Did you pour into gratitude? Did you pour into like best case scenario thinking? Did you how did you improve your mindset? What tools did you use? How did you go about that?
Well, here's the thing. And I was just talking about this yesterday with a friend, is I already had a lot of these tools because I was already using them in my own journey. And what I've realized and what I tell people is, don't wait until you have something terrible happening in your life to actually try and use something. You know, this is for me, this is maintenance for my mind, for my soul, for my body. And by already having the tools, so the things that I would regularly already do is I love to journal. I love to write it down. I love to get it out. I journal about the past, the present, the future, whatever comes up at the moment. I love journaling and meditation. And I mostly do my meditation at night, so that way I can go to sleep. I use Insight Timer app. But before my diagnosis, I would do it maybe a couple times a week. So everything now just started being so much more regular because I had to like quiet my mind because it was going a million miles a minute.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what's going to happen? What is treatment going to look like? How sick am I going to get? You know, how am I going to be able to take care of my daughters?
Yes.
How am I going to get them to school? Like it was just everything was going. So, but the other things that I practice also are breath work.
Yes. Ooh, love.
Is a big one. And right before I knew 2 people and right before I started treatment, I had someone create a custom hypnosis and a custom breath work for me that I have saved so I can go back and listen to them at any time. But these were all really modalities that I was already using prior to my diagnosis. And I was like, why reinvent the wheel? I know this stuff already works for me. Yeah. Like, let's just amp it up a little bit. So now, you know, when I would do breath work once every 3 months, now it's like every 2 weeks.
Yes.
I'm just going much more often.
I love that. I love breath work. I think that's something we all need, that tool under our...
And I was very skeptical the first time I did breath work.
Oh, I
was like, what is this? Like I was at an event. It was 2022. There was like hundreds of women in the room. And I'm like, there's no way. Like, what do you mean? Just sit there and breathe. And I was like a bawling hysterical mess by the end of that first session.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, this did something. Like, I need more.
It's such a big shift. Oh my gosh. When I had done breath work when I was out in LA 3 weeks ago, I like at the end of the session, my whole body was like tingling, almost like when your leg falls asleep. Like my whole body was experiencing that. And it was like, what is going on? It's so crazy. The emotional healing and the physical sensations that happen throughout. It's so powerful. I love
the other
that.
reason too, that because I'm not only trying to make it through treatment right now, but I'm also like, what can I do to best serve myself to prevent this from coming back?
Yes.
You know, because this is literally a lifestyle change. Like my life is never going to be the same. But once treatment and surgery and everything else is over, you know, it's like, I'm never going to be somebody that didn't have cancer. So what am I going to do for my nutrition, you know, for my body, for my mind, to be the best person that I can be, to have the best chance, you know, because they're sitting here telling me all day, well, you don't have the breast cancer gene and no one in your family's ever had it. And I'm like, well, does it really matter?
Right.
I don't think so.
No.
Because I have stage 3 breast cancer with all the cards in my favor to not have it at all. Yeah. So I definitely have looked at this as, you know, a maintenance for my life. Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, sometimes it does take those life altering moments to make those shifts to better ourselves in some way, shape, or form, whether it be mentally, physically, spiritually, all of the above. Yeah. So that's, you know, what this is for you. Has it been hard to, you know, intentionally find the sunshine through this journey? I mean, you're only human. There are days, I'm not going to lie, you know, that like 2 days ago, I came across my video and I was like, today I really miss my hair. Oh, like yeah, absolutely. You know, but I find that I can definitely reframe it much faster when it does come up, you know, and it's not like something that's just going to ruin like a whole entire day or something. Yes. My daughters help because they are like eternally optimistic kids, you know. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Cool. So even like my oldest will ask me like one question every night before we go to bed, something that makes me like think about my life. And I'm like, where did you come from? I love that. Are they like old souls? Like what? That's so cool. My youngest for sure. My youngest is 7 and she loves meditation. She loves yoga. I caught her journaling last night. She barely knows how to spell. Wow. Like, it's the cutest thing ever. My gosh, how inspirational. That's so cool. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I mean, you're only human and, you know, going through any kind of a life-altering diagnosis of any kind, like, you know, overall you try to maintain that positive mindset. But at the end of the day, we're not robots. Like, you're going to have those weak moments and that's just part of being human. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, I think I feel the number one sign that the mindset work that you've done is working is when you recognize that you can bounce back from those negative or limiting beliefs that are coming up so much more quickly. To me, like for me going through my fertility journey, that was mainly the sign that I was needing to work on my mindset. And now it's like when those limiting beliefs come up, like I don't entertain them like I used to. And I imagine that's the same for you. Like you're not going down that rabbit hole with that negativity anymore. You recognize that you're either coming back with something positive or you're rewriting it in that moment. And I just think that's such a huge sign for me. Whereas before, like, maybe you would dwell on it more but it would be more than just like a day of feeling in the dumps. It would be like a week, you know, and Well,
That's
and
a huge sign.
now I know what it is that I can do to get myself out of it. Like, can I go for a walk in the sunshine? Can I go sit outside for 5 minutes?
Yes.
You know, can I put a podcast in my ear? Like, once you start practicing those things more regularly, it's like, you know what your go-to is.
Yeah.
To kind of, okay, well, me and my daughters, we're going to have a dance party. You know, we're going to put the music on. We're going to drive down to the beach.
I love it. That's amazing. Very cool. Are you 5'4" or under? If so, listen up. This ad is for you. Did you know nearly half of women in the US are petite? Yet, shopping for stylish clothes that fit perfectly can feel impossible. For years, I struggled with this. Shopping in kids sections, dealing with oversized arms, long pants, and wasted money on alterations. I hated shopping because nothing ever fit just right. Then I found Short Story, a clothing subscription box specifically designed for petite women. Short Story is rewriting the fashion rules for petites, offering clothes tailored for all sizes, shapes, and heights under 5'4". They even design their lines based on feedback from their subscribers, people like you and me. Here's what makes Short Story amazing. Each box is personalized to your measurements and style preferences. No more alterations or guesswork. You choose how often you get a box. You can do monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly. Every box includes 7 items, and I usually keep around 4 to 6 of them because they fit so perfectly. Their styling quiz lets you share your budget, style preferences, and even your Pinterest board for inspiration. Yes, I've literally manifested my Pinterest wardrobe thanks to Short Story. And lastly, after each box, you can give feedback to make your next box even better. So imagine never having to shop in stores again, feeling confident at every event you attend, and knowing your clothes were curated specifically for you. I've been a loyal subscriber for 6 years now, and I promise it's been a game changer. If you're ready to uplevel your style and show up as the best version of yourself, then give Short Story a try today. And then a bonus for my listeners, you can use the referral link in today's show notes to waive the $25 styling fee on your first box. Let Short Story handle the hassle while you show up stylish, confident, and ready to take on the world. So have there been any other, besides your mindset, I know you said like you've been working on different parts of your health. Have there been any other like monumental changes that you've experienced because of this diagnosis?
Well, we definitely have changed the way that we eat.
Nice. Very nice.
Yes. I have a friend that's a chef and she came over and did a kitchen detox with me.
Awesome.
And when you have little kids, it's not always easy. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't get rid of everything, but she definitely opened my eyes to, I really thought that I was living a somewhat healthy lifestyle before.
Right.
And I was. When she graded me, she gave me like a B-. So
that's
I was like, okay, that's not that bad.
Yeah, I know.
But it's just, you know, I before would be the person that would go for the generic or the cheaper brand of things because I thought they were the same. Yeah. And she taught me that that is absolutely not the case. So she taught me how to read labels. She taught me, you know, what was bad in your foods, what you should get rid of, what you should never consume. And that was really eye-opening for me. Yeah. And much more sustainable than I thought it was going to be because I thought it was going to be really difficult and I thought it was going to be really expensive. But it turns out like when you're, you know, making a lot more things at home and you are, you know, not opting for like the $25 box of the kids, like, you know, granola bars and you pick up a piece of fruit, it's actually really not that much more expensive.
Absolutely. I agree. I love that. And you probably feel so much better because of it. I know when I made the diet changes for myself, it was like I got more energy back. I wasn't dealing with the gut issues anymore. I mean, it was like I was a completely different person. So,
well, and it's helped me so much through treatment.
Yeah.
Not only that, and, you know, because as the weeks go on, I'm learning a little bit more each time.
Right.
And this last time, you know, I didn't have that much nausea. I started taking a probiotic and, you know, all of those things are helping. And I decided to cheat last night, actually, because I was having a craving and I heavily regretted it for the whole entire night.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, absolutely. I gave up gluten and dairy. And when I let myself have a cheat moment, I am almost within like 8 hours, like regretting it. And it's
yeah. I'm like this. I told my daughter this morning, I go, that was not worth it.
No, it's so frustrating. Yeah. Yeah. I totally get that in a different way, but yeah. So you also do public speaking, correct?
Yes, I am starting to.
You're starting to. Okay. Okay. So talk about how did the podcast lead to public speaking, or did you just start pitching yourself to people, or how did you work your way into that?
I would say, I mean, the podcast definitely helped with my confidence and definitely helped with me, feeling comfortable enough to feel like I had a story to share.
Yeah.
And there was women that I was in their world, they were in my world through groups or mentors or whatever, and they were having events and, they were asking people if they wanted to speak. And, in the beginning, I'd be like, oh, that's cute for everybody else, but like probably not for me.
Yeah. And
I decided, but why not?
Yeah.
So the first one that I did was virtual, which I felt like that kind of like dipped my toe in there, So I'm still behind a screen. It was kind of like my podcast feel, but to a live audience.
Absolutely.
But I did my own live event last July. Okay. And I recorded a podcast in front of a live audience. And awesome. I wanted to see if I could get up in front of everybody and talk and be comfortable.
Yeah.
Because public speaking, honestly, has never been a strength of mine. Like even in school and everything we were doing, like I was always nervous. I was great with my friends. I'm a very social person. I'm an extrovert. But like in front of a big crowd, like no.
Right.
And so when I got up in front of the crowd in July, when I realized that if it's something that I really truly care about and I'm passionate about, then it was easy.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And I did have an opportunity to speak on a stage earlier this year, but unfortunately it conflicted with some of my chemo treatments, so I wasn't able to go. Oh. So I do have another virtual one coming up next week. I have another virtual one in July. And then I believe I have a live one in October.
Wow, this is a lot. This isn't like one here and sprinkled over the year. This is a lot, I feel like.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. So how did you initially overcome the imposter syndrome with getting on stage? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know that we ever really do, to be honest. It's just, I think because of the spaces that I've gone to and the rooms that I've gotten in, I know I'm very intentional about where I go and who I'm around.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I feel safe here. Mm-hmm. Even if you come up and, even if it's your first time, I was like, I don't feel like I'm going to be judged. I don't feel like anybody's going to be like, what is she doing up here? Like, she doesn't deserve to be up here. And probably already knew a good amount of people in the room.
Yeah.
But to just get yourself around those supportive women that they're going to have your back, even if you go up there and you forget what you were supposed to say, even if you go up there and you cry or whatever it is, when you have the right people supporting you, I just really think it gets a lot easier.
So you feel like you were truly speaking to like your ideal listeners. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely helps. Absolutely. Okay.
Well, and if you have a story to share, it's like, even if one person in the audience hears what you have to say and it resonates with them, like to me, that's worth it. That's worth it. Even if only one person like downloads my podcast episode and they message me and tell me that they loved it, like then I did my job.
I agree. Yeah. You mentioned how healing the podcast has been for you, and that really resonates with me. I mean, I know, like you said, you had to take those 3 weeks off. Yeah, there's times in life where the podcast has to go on the back burner, but I genuinely don't like doing that because it is so healing for me. And it's just, I recognize that since starting it, like my throat chakra has been wide open, and I just don't like to go more than so many weeks without doing it because I just know I need that outlet. And like you said, even if it's just benefiting one person, it's completely worth it. And
it's so crazy that you mentioned the throat chakra, because that was like a big thing for me before too. Yeah. Like I used to feel like I was walking around with like a lump in my throat and I had no idea.
Okay. Yep.
And then once it was gone, I'm like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah. I had a Reiki session. So I started the podcast last March, and I had a Reiki session right before where, they pretty much told me like, your throat chakra is like ready to be opened. And so you need to like speak your truth. And she asked if I had had any instances in my life where I had like trauma or an injury to my neck or the area around the throat chakra. And I was like, yeah, actually I broke my neck in 2016. And then just in 2023, I had my thyroid taken out, which those are the only two like major medical incidences I've had in my life. And so she was like, yeah, there's no coincidence that they were both to your neck. And I'm like, this is freaking wild.
That's wild.
Yeah. She's like, your spirit guides want you to know that it's time to speak your truth. Like you need to stop holding back, stop biting your tongue, like step out, be your authentic self. And I was like, well, I'm actually starting a podcast. So, and she was like, okay, perfect. And then that lit a fire under my ass. Cause from that point forward, I was like, this is like soul driven. I can't not follow through on this now. But
I didn't expect it to be so healing. That was the thing.
Oh, really? Oh,
no.
Gotcha.
Like,
okay.
I was like, yeah, I'll come on here and I'll interview a bunch of cool people and I'll get to know people, you know, and I'll share stories. But I wasn't prepared for what it was going to do for me. And I was like, okay, this is why I can never stop.
Yes, I agree. It's so motivating and it is fun. It's fun bringing people on like you, like it's fun hearing people. And also it's really fun doing those solo episodes where you just get to talk about real life. And I don't know, it took me a little bit, I feel, to get past that, like, okay, I'm airing everything out there. Like people are going to know what's going on in my life, like in a really personal way. Yeah. And I kind of freaking love that about podcasting.
Well, you know what I realized? I realized that I like telling my own story way more than having everybody else make up stories about what they think is going on in my life. So if it's on the podcast, then guess what? You're hearing it from me first. So nobody can make up anything because I already gave it to you.
I love that. I love it. Yep. That's very well said. Beautiful. I love that you have a similar experience. The podcast world. I know there's like so many podcasts out there, but I am one of those people that like my library of podcasts is just filled. I mean, it's a tad overwhelming, but it's like every day, depending on my mood, then there's always something for me to listen to. So I'll just never run out of content or people. And I don't know. I just think it's kind of awesome that we have this way of learning from so many different people in our world. Right. Yeah, it's so powerful.
You can learn anything.
Yeah, it's so cool. So going back to your healing journey, have you done a lot of spiritual healing through just since January, even like since getting the diagnosis? Have you been going through also like a spiritual growth yourself?
I would say yes, because I think anytime something like this happens, it really it puts things in perspective, obviously.
Yeah, it does.
And I wouldn't necessarily say through my life that I was an overly religious person because I wasn't. I mean, I, was raised Catholic, but didn't really practice. But for me, it's more because it's funny that you bring this up because my daughter and I had a conversation and she was like, you're not religious at all. I'm like, and, I got kind of defensive. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not religious? Like, I believe in God.
Right.
And she was like, no, Mom, I don't mean like that. And so I told her, I said, okay, maybe you mean more spiritual.
Yeah.
And she was like, yes, I think that that's what I mean. I said, because, I'm not going to church. I'm not that type of person. But I do believe, and I used to always say, oh, everything happens for a reason. And now I'm like, that's stupid because no, I don't believe that. There's some really, really terrible things that happen in this world that don't make sense. And there's no reason for that. Yeah. But I do believe that everything is teaching us something. Right. And I do believe that we're learning lessons. And, I have to believe that there is a higher power of something that has not necessarily full control, but some, type of control over what's happening in your life. And I know that this is teaching me so many lessons, but also it gives me hope, to be able to pray about it and to be able to kind of ask for guidance, ask for help, whatever it is. And so many people have reached out to me expressing their spirituality, that it's like inspiring and motivating, and their, undeniable faith that they have is really like, wow, Yeah. And the fact that they're willing to put their faith on the line for me is just...
I agree. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm not surprised to hear you say that. I, again, feel like when we go through these hard things, it does test your spiritual health in a way, and hopefully it strengthens it, but it's ultimately you have a choice. I mean, not everybody lets that happen. There's still that free will component. And I just think you're doing this whole body health journey because of the cancer diagnosis. I would assume the spiritual health is a part of that. So that's why I was curious. Like, I imagine that's been a growing pain for you as well, maybe. So, okay. I also would say I'm not super religious, but since COVID, my spiritual journey has catapulted in ways that I just did not anticipate. And so I just always love to hear like where other people are at spiritually, because it's a very intriguing topic to me. And we talk about it on the podcast a lot. So in regards to your cancer diagnosis, at the end of 2024, I had a really good friend who, she got diagnosed with stage it is because she didn't have a biopsy, but she got diagnosed with cancer at the beginning of 2024 and got the all clear at the end of 2024 that she was completely in the clear. Like, that's amazing. She had a fungating tumor. It was an 8-pound tumor. And she had it removed, but there was still a part of it that was still in there. But similar to you, she went after this diagnosis in a very holistic way. She got introduced to CBD. She changed her whole diet. She worked with a lot of holistic doctors. And her way of attacking cancer, to me, was just so eye-opening, because I think in our world, we think well, you do chemo and radiation and that's it. But it really opened my eyes that there's so many other avenues that you can explore when trying to attack this diagnosis. And like you mentioned before, mindset is a big part of it. And she did all of that work too. I mean, her mindset work was a huge, monumental part of her journey as well. And so I'm just curious, when it comes to how you've beat cancer, are you working primarily with Western medicine practitioners? Are you seeing a variety? Are you doing any integrative things? I'm just curious, what that journey in the medical world has looked like for you.
Yeah. So primarily it's Western medicine.
Okay.
Because when I received my diagnosis, they told me I have triple negative breast cancer. So prior to my diagnosis, I didn't even realize there was different types of breast cancer. I just thought breast cancer was breast cancer.
Same.
But mine is very aggressive. To the fact that when I found the lump in July, it was probably about the size of a grape. And when I started treatment in January, it was a softball.
From July to January. Wow.
Yeah. So I knew, keeping my health and my daughters in mind, that I didn't have time.
Right.
To try to explore other options.
No, not at that point. Yeah.
So I chose, the chemotherapy. And so with that type of cancer, they tend to do the chemo first because they need to shrink it before they can do surgery. Because if they just do the surgery, they told me it's inevitable. It's going to come back, which is why they started with the chemo. And I actually haven't yet seen a holistic doctor, which has been on my list to do. But I was impressed with the doctors that I'm going to, that they did. Good. They recommended, I told them, I said, I take CBD gummies. And when I told them that,
awesome.
They were actually no, we actually encourage you to take those because there's no side effects versus I have so many medications. It's ridiculous. And most of them, to be honest, I don't take them. I will take them as needed, but I'm not just taking them because they're prescribed, because those medications have side effects, and then now you're messing up, like you said, your gut microbiome and all this stuff is going on crazy. But I was impressed with the fact. And when they gave me the brochures, they also talked a lot about mindset. They talked about meditation. They talked about breath work. And so I was like, okay, I'm glad to see that they are already incorporating that, at least here in LA, into the Western medicine. And so that made me feel really good.
Okay, that's impressive. I agree. Yeah. We need people to know that when it comes to cancer. I had this friend on back in December talking about her journey specifically because we need people to know cancer. It's not, unfortunately, it's way too common in our world.
So much more now. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we need people to know that there's other ways of attacking it. That's why I love that you're talking about how holistically you went about this diagnosis. When my friend got into CBD, I had no idea that was something that could benefit. And like you said, there's no side effects to it. So it's kind of a no-brainer, Right.
Yeah. I was already taking them for sleep. And then, I told them, and she's like, they will actually help curb your nausea. And that's what I found. Take one before you eat on that first week after chemo.
Nice.
And it just makes everything so much easier.
Nice. Oh, I
thought it was going to be something that I was going to have to hide, and I was like, I don't know what they're going to say. And she was actually really, really encouraging about it. So I appreciated that.
I love that. Okay. Do you also, I know you said you have a friend who is a chef, but do you see a nutritionist because of the diagnosis at all? Or did you not feel
on a regular basis? They did
Okay.
offer a chemo nutrition class that I did take at the cancer center that I go to.
Very cool.
And so I went in there, and it was after my friend had came over, and it was really good because it really just kind of confirmed everything that she had already taught me.
Yeah.
But then, when you're in those classes and they're just, everybody's reaction to treatment is different. Everybody's reaction to chemo is different. And, some people really, really struggle with appetite, with nausea, with everything else. And so a lot of the things that they recommended is, like the Ensures and like all that stuff that I'm like, it's really not like that great. But if you're not eating anything and you need vitamins and you need supplements, like obviously that's better than nothing, right?
Right. I agree.
But I found that the nutrition and the food and the recipes that my friend gave me definitely helped, so I've learned to make like a homemade chicken soup that takes 2 days, like straight from the carcass and like all sorts of things.
Good for you. I love that. It is very reassuring to hear also that like your Western medicine provider is bringing up some of these holistic practices too, because in my opinion, those things like breath work is just as important as some of the medications that they think you need to be taking.
Well, and I think it's going to make the difference through your treatment. Like treatment is already difficult. Yeah. And, supplementing your treatment with those practices is for me what makes a difference, because I have chemo every 3 weeks, is having 2 really good weeks and then like one kind of crappy week. I could just eat whatever I want and do whatever I want and lay on the couch all day, and I could have 3 crappy weeks.
Right.
But I choose not to do that.
Yep. I completely agree. Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of like you said earlier, you can have those cheat moments, but you're going to pay for it later. And it is going to,
I think especially when you're going through treatment. Yeah. And everything is just so much more sensitive. And like, I was a person prior to this that I could eat whatever I wanted and it didn't affect me. And like, I'm not that person anymore. And sometimes I have to remind myself, like, Sarah, you have cancer. Yeah. And you're going through treatment and you can't eat spicy buffalo wings anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think there's also an important subject to mention in regards to like, I firmly believe that the mind-body connection is such a strong connection that when we get these diagnoses like cancer or like a disease of some kind, I firmly believe there is an emotional factor at play there. There's something that needs to be healed, or there's a heavy emotion that you're not releasing, or there's unhealed grief of some kind. And so I always, in therapy anyways, will touch on that with clients. It's just so important to know, like, holding on to grudges, I firmly believe can result in a future diagnosis of some kind, holding on to resentment, holding on to grief. Like we need to heal those things because they can show up in your body as a tumor, as so many things, as ulcers, so that is
so huge that you bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that's been a part of your journey too.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because I guess I probably thought that I was doing a lot better than what I was actually doing. Sure. And these past few years, I mean, like I said, my husband and I separated in 2019. That time was stressful. Yeah. And then my dad had a lot of health problems starting in 2021. And I was really just trying to take care of everybody else. And I don't think I was handling my stress as well as I thought that I was. Mm-hmm. Or by the time I really figured it out, like last year, it was probably already too late, and I had definitely put my own health on the back burner as far as, going to regular appointments because I thought I'm good. I feel good. I'm healthy. Yeah. And, this is all part of the maintenance though, if you guys are listening, like, especially if you're a mom, like, is it going to kill you to take an hour out to go get a physical, to go get a mammogram, to go get your blood work done, like all of those things. And it was at the beginning of 2024 was when my mom told me, this is the year that you're going to go to all your appointments. This is the year, she's like, because I'm now about to be 45. Okay. And so last year she told me, she said, you need to go do all the not fun stuff. You need a mammogram, you need a colonoscopy, like all these things. And I made that promise to her, and that's what I was trying to knock off. And I'm really glad that she forced me because, I had already found the lump by the time I made the appointment, obviously, but it was already on my mind to do it. And yeah, I definitely agree with you because things in your life will physically manifest if you don't deal with them.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. And I have to attribute probably some of that to what's going on with me because like I told you, no one in my family's ever had it. I don't have the gene. All the cards are in my favor to not have breast cancer. Yet here I am with stage 3 breast cancer.
Right. Right.
And it's not about blaming and like, oh my gosh, this is my fault. It's really just about, like I said earlier, acknowledging. That way I know that this won't happen again, because I am going to deal with my stress in a better way. I am going, to work on my mindset, to do my modalities that I need to help myself, because I don't think I did it often enough before.
Right. Yeah. You do need to acknowledge it. I agree. And otherwise, the alternative is you're stuffing it down and you're suppressing it. And then when we suppress emotions, they're just going to come back down the road even stronger, potentially in the form of another physical ailment. So
absolutely,
that acknowledgement is huge, actually. And I think it's amazing that you recognize that. I also imagine you had to give yourself permission to slow down in this journey. I mean, we naturally, I feel you are probably like me in the fact that you're probably like a high achieving woman. And so and if you've ever worked in the corporate world, you probably come from that hustle culture, and coming out of that, going into the entrepreneurial world where I very much am like, I'm not hustling. I'm going to practice work-life balance. I'm just very anti-hustle. And so have you given yourself permission? Have you had to practice, like intentionally practice, like letting yourself have downtime, letting yourself rest, letting yourself slow down? Because that's really hard to do. It's really freaking hard.
It is. And I have a few friends, like I have a very good friend, and he is the one that in the beginning, I'm like, oh my God, I did nothing today. Because some days after treatment, it's like, I've had mom brain, I've had pregnancy brain, I've had all that, but like chemo brain is on another level to the point that like you feel like you're in this fog, and then you get up and you go to a room, you don't even know why you're there. But really to just, like you said, to give myself the permission, if it's a day that I lay on the couch and I just watch Netflix because that's all I have the energy for, like that's okay, because my body needs to heal. And it was challenging. It was really hard, but like I said, this kind of puts everything in perspective. And there's so many things that I was rushing around to do, and so many things that I thought were important that I really realize now that they really just don't matter, you know? And things can wait. You can say no to people, and just because you're alone and you're not doing anything, like that doesn't mean that you're free.
Right.
Like I'm busy. And now I've been just so much more like, my phone is going on do not disturb. I have set strict like guidelines with myself. No social media after 8 p.m. And now it's like, honestly, no phone after 8 p.m.
Yes. Okay. I hear you. And I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Because I mean, it was like, what am I wasting time doing over here? I could be coloring a stress coloring book. There's
I love
so much more enjoyable things that you can be doing with your time than doom scrolling until 11 o'clock at night.
Yes, I agree. I have just recently, like in the last month, turned off Snapchat notifications, which to some that might seem like such a minor thing, but to me it was huge. I feel like I was like borderline too addicted. And then since turning that off, I maybe check Snapchat a couple times a day, and it feels like freedom.
Yes.
I mean, I love it. And I'm like, I go
8 p.m. to 8 a.m., no social media. And the other day I'm like, it's 10:30 in the morning. And I go, I mean, I guess I'll look to see if there's like a DM or something, but there's nothing that can't wait, and like, you're not going to miss anything. And I think I was so consumed with, I don't know, other people's lives and like what they were doing or what other people were doing in their business. But it was by giving myself that freedom and that space and that break, it's also made me more authentic to what I really want and what I want to create.
Yes.
All the creativity that I had in 2020 when I started COVID crafting, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting excited, because it's coming back, and I'm creating things, and it's been very great. I've set timers. It's just, I realize it's not only about boundaries with other people, but it's about boundaries with myself. And like, Sarah, you need to get real about the amount of time that you're wasting over here. And so, when it tells me that my time's up for the day, there's no more ignoring the timers. Time's up. You're done.
I love that so much. Boundaries. We could probably do a whole podcast episode on boundaries. I just feel like there's so much to be said on that. Also, like the last thing I want to ask you is, I have recognized for myself I would say since going into my 30s, I'm 34, but since going into my 30s, I have been a lot more intentional about my support system, who I want to pour into, who I don't want to pour into, being very intentional about just the relationships in my life in general, and truly wanting to not just be in rooms with like-minded people, but spend my time with people who, yes, pour into me as well, but also just think like me, because life is short. I've had a near-death experience, so I very much that is a motto that I always live by. But life is short, and I just don't want to spend it around negative people, around people that don't value the mindset work, that don't value the woo-woo and those things, because I'm here for it, And so have you even and it probably has been an ongoing thing for you too, but I just attribute it to in my 30s, I really recognized this shift. But have you, since the diagnosis, been even more intentional about who you spend your time with and the relationships?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think there was still some things that I was tolerating that I shouldn't have been.
Sure.
You know, in an effort to think that maybe they'll change or, but I've really tried to live in the present moment and realize that you can't be focused on the potential of what something could be. In a friendship, in a relationship with your family. It's you just need to open your eyes and get real that what they're showing you is who they are.
Yeah.
And, I also think that there was a lot of times that I was too busy for the people that I did want to spend time with because I was working, because I had the girls, and I feel like I would make a lot of excuses. And now I'm really trying to be more intentional because, you could go to coffee with somebody for an hour. You could go, I was walking around the block yesterday and I called my friend okay, now I had a 20-minute conversation and I got my exercise in. It's just, what can you do to actually fill your cup and pour into yourself? I've looked at, and a lot of that for me is people. Because like I said, I'm an extrovert by nature, and now I'm home and my kids are at school. So, and people support you. And I have so many incredible people supporting me through this journey.
I bet.
But as time goes on, people kind of start to get back to their lives, right? So I feel like if you want that support and you want to foster those friendships and those relationships, it is kind of your responsibility to reach out also.
Yeah,
because everybody else is not sitting there thinking about me all day long and wondering if, am I nauseous today? Is my stomach hurting? If I'm having a good day and I want to go for a walk, I need to reach out to people. And if they're busy, then I reach out to somebody else.
Yeah.
But I've definitely really started to reevaluate the friendships and the people that are in my life. Because like you said, you are a product of who you spend the most time with. So if you're hanging out with people that are toxic, that are negative, that are complaining, it's going to rub off on you. So if you don't leave that conversation or that meetup or whatever it is, feeling better than when you got there, you might want to start reevaluating who that person was that you spent time with.
Yeah, I agree. I have had some wake up calls in the last couple of years around literally walking away from gatherings, social gatherings, get-togethers of various sizes, feeling I hate how in my head I am about this.
Right.
And that's going to stop now. I have some control over this. Yeah. I think sometimes a diagnosis can lead you to have those internal dialogues, but I also think, just for me, it really was just shifting into my 30s and realizing, you're creating a life you love. Therefore, I want people that I truly love to be in my inner circle. And
so just wait until you get to your 40s.
I've heard it just gets better and better.
So much more. You're I'm not tolerating any of this.
Yeah, I feel like I'm halfway there. So, yep, I believe you completely. Sarah, I so appreciate you sharing your story. Is there any last nuggets of information you want to share with listeners about, if they're going through their own diagnosis, cancer or otherwise, if they're just going through a hard season of life like cancer? What last piece of advice would you want to give listeners?
I think that it comes back to, like you said, the name of the podcast and everything that I talk about. And if you guys follow me on social media, I talk about it a lot, about creating your own sunshine.
I love it.
And I really just want to remind people that you have so much more power than you think. And you might not be able to control the situation that's happening in your life, but you can control your reaction. You can control how you respond to it. And you are going to find what you look for. So if you're looking for sunshine and you're looking for those sunshine moments that I always talk about, you're going to find them.
Yep. I completely agree. Because what you focus on internally is what you're going to see externally. So absolutely. Oh, I love it. How can listeners connect with you if they're interested in learning more, hearing more?
Sure. You guys can find me on social media. My main platform is Instagram at Sarah_Arvizu. And also you can listen to the Creating Sunshine podcast. And I've recently, if you guys want to celebrate your own sunshine moments, I recently created a freebie that you can download because I love to print things out. I love to write on them and hang them up so you can walk by it every single day and celebrate yourself, because I do this at the beginning of every month or the end of the previous month. And so I actually just shared that the other day, and I wanted to create it for people so that way they can celebrate their own sunshine moments.
I love it. Such a great reminder. That's similar to like affirmations. If I have them somewhere where I see it, I am more likely to start my day on a better note. If it's out of sight, out of mind, you're just never going to think about it.
I don't want it in my notes app. I want it on my refrigerator.
Yes, I need it like in my mirror. Yeah, on the fridge. I completely agree. I love that. Well, I end all my sessions with some rapid fire questions, Sarah. So what is a small habit or ritual that makes you feel like your next level self?
Oof. Putting on my makeup and my wig right now.
Yeah. So do you have a variety of wigs right now?
I do. I just ordered 2 more.
I love it.
I'm obsessed. Right now I have 3 and I just ordered 2 more.
I've heard it's addicting. Yeah.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
You can be whoever my daughter gives them names, so they all have their own personas.
I love that so much. Oh, how fun. That really does bring some sunshine to the journey.
It does.
Absolutely. Because I remember seeing your very first post on Instagram. I think it was your first wig. And I was like, damn, this is a different side of her. And it is like a whole different person. My hair was
gray before. And I loved it. I did too. But it's definitely a change.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. If you could manifest one dream instantly, what would it be? I mean, obviously overcoming cancer, but anything beyond that?
Leaving my 9 to 5.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Yep. I definitely don't blame you. Who is somebody who inspires you to be your most authentic self?
My daughters.
Beautiful. Like mini versions of you, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They totally are.
Yeah. What is one thing that you're currently working on manifesting in your life?
Healing.
Yes. I love that. In all versions.
All aspects. Mind, body, soul, everything.
Which is so fun. I hope you're enjoying the healing journey, because I think if it's enjoyable, you're more likely to continue it beyond, even when the cancer diagnosis is out the window and gone, you're more likely to continue it because it becomes an addiction.
I was just going to say, I'm kind of obsessed with it.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, absolutely. Good for you. I love that. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today, Sarah. I felt very strongly that people needed to hear your story. And ever since you announced on Instagram that you were going through this journey, I was like, I need to reach out to her. So thank you for sharing your story. And I just know a few listeners in particular that are really going to benefit from this. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that and giving me the opportunity to share my story.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you guys, if there's anything that you want to know more about, just reach out to Sarah directly, send her a DM. Also, if this episode really resonated with you, I would love if you would rate and review the podcast if you haven't done so already. And I will talk to you guys next week.
Real quick before you go, I just want to thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. And congratulations on showing up for you. Every step you take to invest in yourself brings you that much closer to your next level self. And I'm so proud of you. If you loved this episode, share it with someone who could use a little inspiration, or take a screenshot and tag me on socials so we can keep spreading the next level you energy. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Let's freaking go.